It happened on a Sunday. The house was empty. Our parents had gone to Whidbey Island for a weekend getaway. I was in the living room, curled up on the couch with a sketch pad in my lap and a record spinning softly in the corner. Noah came in without a word, barefoot, wearing that worn black t-shirt that clung to him a little too well. He sat across from me and just watched. For a while, I pretended to ignore him. Kept sketching. "What are you drawing?" he asked finally. I hesitated. "Nothing specific." "Can I see?" I paused again before flipping the pad toward him. A study of hands. Light, shadow, subtle touches. One of them looked like his. He stared at it too long. Then he looked at me. "Why does this feel wrong?" he asked quietly. My throat tightened. "Because it is." He didn't move. Neither did I. The air between us thickened, humming like it was waiting for something to snap. And then it did. He stood, crossed the room, and stopped right in front of me. "I shouldn't," he whispered. "I know," I whispered back. And then he kissed me. God help me, I kissed him back. It wasn't gentle. It wasn't slow. It was everything we'd both been denying, crashing into a single moment of heat and guilt and longing. We didn't sleep together that night. But the damage was done. There was no going back. I remember sitting on my bed after he left the room, shaking. I kept replaying it over and over in my head, the way his lips felt, the way he said my name like it was a sin and a prayer at the same time. They say the rain in Seattle is soft, romantic. The kind that makes you want to curl up with a blanket, sip coffee by the window, and fall in love. But they don't talk about how it lingers. How it seeps into the bones of the city, into the cracks of old buildings, and deeper still, into people's lives. The thing about rain is it hides things. Tears. Lies. Kisses that should have never happened. Secrets whispered into collars in the dead of night. This city has always been a part of me, its grayscale beauty, its rhythm, its melancholy. I grew up under the sky, never realizing how closely it mirrored my own life. Quiet on the surface, chaotic underneath. I used to think I knew who I was. A daughter. A student. A girl who followed the rules. Then Noah walked into my life. My stepbrother. We were teenagers, angry, displaced, and trying to pretend that we were part of one big happy family. We weren't. We never would be. But somehow, in the confusion of our parents' failed marriage, in the long silences between us, something started to grow. Something we both fought. And lost to. This story isn't neat. It doesn't come with clean lines or tidy endings. It's messy. Raw. It's about love that broke all the rules and shattered the people who tried to deny it. It's about betrayal, not just of others, but of everything we thought we were supposed to be. If you're looking for a fairy tale, close the book now. Because this is the story of how I fell in love with the one person I was never supposed to touch. And how I touched him anyway. In the city of rain, under a sky that never forgets. My name is Ava Blake, and I live in Seattle, the city of rain, shadows, and secrets. People think the mist here is romantic, the way it clings to buildings and curls around lampposts like a lover's touch. But for me, it's always been a veil. A veil that covers what people don't want to see or admit. I'm 28 now. A graphic designer, mostly freelance, and I live in a loft near Capitol Hill with too many plants and not enough sleep. From my windows, I can see the skyline shimmer when the sun rarely decides to show up. But most days, it's gray. Cold. Like the memory of everything I'd try to forget. This story isn't easy to tell. Because it's about love, the kind people would never understand. The kind that doesn't fit in boxes or make sense to anyone but the two tangled souls caught in it. And it's about betrayal, not just of others, but of myself. I met Noah when I was 16. My mother had just remarried. Greg, her new husband, was some tech executive who made his money during the early startup boom. He was nice enough, charming, with that polished dad joke energy. But I didn't care about him. What caught my attention was his son, Noah. He was 17, quiet, brooding, and breathtaking. Tall with dark curls that always fell into his eyes, and a stare that felt like it saw through everyone, including me. We were polite at first. Forced smiles at dinner. Awkward small talk in the hallway. But there was something in the air between us, even then. Something neither of us dared to name. We became friends fast. Late night talks on the back porch. Sharing music. Homework help that turned into 3-hour conversations. It wasn't sudden. It wasn't a moment. It was slow, dangerous like that. Like walking into deep water without noticing how far you've gone. And then one night, everything changed. It was raining, the kind of rain that turns the city into a blur. We were watching old movies, huddled under the same blanket. Our shoulders touched. My heart pounded so loudly I was sure he could hear it. He looked at me, really looked at me, and something in me snapped. Or maybe awakened. He kissed me. It was soft, gentle, hesitant, but it was real. I remember pulling back, breathless, confused. "We can't," I said. "I know," he whispered. But he didn't move away. We kissed again. We told ourselves it was a mistake. A one-time thing. But that was a lie we repeated so often it became a ritual. The truth was, we didn't want to stop. We were addicted to the thrill, the secrecy, the way it felt like we belonged in each other's arms even when everything screamed we shouldn't. At school, we pretended. At home, we smiled like nothing happened. But behind closed doors, when the world was asleep, we were fire and rain, passion and guilt. The first betrayal was of our parents. But we justified it, they brought us together. They weren't even married that long. 5 years. And then they divorced when I was 21. Greg cheated. My mom left, bitter and heartbroken. Noah and I never spoke about it. It was almost like we thought, if their love could fall apart so easily, maybe ours wasn't wrong after all. But by then, we weren't just secret lovers. We were broken. He went away to New York for grad school. I stayed in Seattle, building my career. We drifted, like most forbidden things do. But the ache didn't leave. The memory of his hands, his lips, his whispered promises, those never went anywhere. Years passed. We saw other people. I even got engaged once. His name was Daniel. He was safe, stable, kind. But he wasn't Noah. I tried to love him the way I loved Noah. I tried to bury the past. But some ghosts don't stay buried. The night before my wedding, I saw Noah again. He was back in Seattle, visiting or maybe running. I don't know. We met for coffee. Said it was just to catch up. But the moment I saw him, I knew. I was still his. And he was still mine. That night, we crossed the line again. Again. And this time, I knew it wasn't just a mistake. It was a betrayal, not just of Daniel, but of the woman I swore I was becoming. I called off the wedding. There were tears. Anger. Disbelief. But I couldn't lie anymore. I couldn't pretend to love someone else when my soul still whispered his name in every quiet moment. Noah and I tried to make it work. We told ourselves we were adults now. That it was different. That the world had changed. But secrets don't stay secrets forever. When my mom found out, accidentally, from an old message she saw pop up on my phone, her face turned to stone. "He's your brother," she spat. "Stepbrother," I whispered. It doesn't matter. But it did. To her. To everyone. Friends stopped calling. People whispered. Some looked at me like I was a monster. Others were just confused. "Why him?" they'd ask. I didn't know how to answer. Because the truth is, love doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't care about titles, bloodlines, or the rules we make to keep our world neat and digestible. Noah was my chaos. My calm. My mistake. My salvation. We moved in together last fall. Just the two of us, in a quiet apartment near Queen Anne. No family photos on the wall. No guests. Just us and the silence of our choices. Sometimes we dance in the kitchen. Sometimes we fight. Sometimes I wonder if we did the right thing, and other nights, when he holds me like he's afraid I'll vanish, I know we did. But here's the truth they don't tell you about love stories like ours. They don't end with a wedding. Or a happy ever after. They end in the quiet moments. The stolen ones. The whispered, I still love you, when the world isn't looking. And sometimes, that's enough. Even in a city where it always rains. They say time heals. What they don't say is that sometimes, time just learns how to hide things better. After everything unraveled, I promised myself I'd never go back. Not to Noah. Not to the past. Not to the version of me who craved something she wasn't supposed to touch. But there are wounds that don't scab over. Wounds you learn to dress quietly, to smile through, while they pulse beneath your skin. I buried him the way people bury trauma, quietly, without ceremony. I deleted our photos. Burned the letters he never meant for me to keep. I changed apartments, blocked his number, filled my days with work and sleep and meaningless distractions. For years, it worked. Until it didn't. It started with a message. Just 6 words, sitting in my inbox like a ghost that had finally found its way back home. Back in Seattle. Can we talk? Noah. I stared at the screen for hours, rereading those 6 words like they were carved into bone. My hand shook. My heart did something I thought it had forgotten how to do. It stumbled. I didn't respond. Not at first. But 2 weeks later, I saw him. Not planned. Not expected. Just fate being cruel. I was at a coffee shop on Pine and Minor, waiting for a client who never showed, when I looked up and saw him through the window, tall, darker hair now, a little older, but still him. Still Noah. He hadn't seen me. He was standing across the street, talking to someone, laughing at something. And in that second, everything I had shoved into the dark came roaring back. The taste of him. The sound of his voice in my ear. The way he used to trace circles on my back when I couldn't sleep. I should have left. Slipped out the back door and vanished before he saw me. But I didn't. I walked outside. Our eyes met. And just like that, the years between us collapsed. We met up that evening. At the waterfront near the Olympic Sculpture Park, the same place he once kissed me for the second time, underneath a light drizzle. I didn't think you'd come, he said, his voice deeper now, calmer. I didn't think I would either, I replied. We sat in silence for a long time, listening to the soft slap of the water against the concrete. The sky was heavy with gray, and the air smelled like rain. I'm not here to mess up your life, he said eventually. I needed to see you. I wanted to ask why now. But the answer was in his eyes. Because it was always going to be now. It was only a matter of when. He told me he'd graduated, traveled a bit, worked for a nonprofit in San Diego, then moved back to Seattle to be closer to his father, who'd had a health scare. He spoke of it all carefully, like he didn't want to pressure me, didn't want to make this more than what it already was. But it already was everything. I walked away that night. But 2 weeks later, I called him. We started small. Coffee. Walks. Occasional texts. Harmless. Until it wasn't. Until one night, I let him into my apartment during a thunderstorm, just so he could dry off. Until he kissed me again, just like the first time. Only this time, we weren't kids. We weren't living under the same roof. Our parents were long divorced. The world had changed. But the fire hadn't. We didn't stop ourselves this time. We didn't pretend it was a mistake. That's how it started again, quietly, like before. But now it was different. The stakes weren't secrecy anymore. It was survival. We tried to be smart. To go slow. But we were never good at moderation. By the end of the month, he was spending nights at my place. By spring, he practically lived there. Our friends didn't understand. My mother didn't speak to me for weeks after finding out. Again. I thought you were done with him, she said over the phone, her voice thick with disappointment. I thought I was too, I answered. She was quiet for a long time before saying, you always had a hard time letting go of things that hurt you. Maybe she was right. But no, it didn't hurt me. What hurt was the pretending. What hurt was the years we lost trying to live like strangers when every cell in my body knew he was home. We weren't perfect. Far from it. There were arguments, jealousy, emotional flashbacks, trauma from the way it all began. But there was also laughter, real love, nights spent tangled in sheets, whispering about things we could never tell anyone else. There was healing too. One night, we visited Discovery Park, our first public date. We walked the trails at sunset, hand in hand, no longer afraid of being seen. I used to think we were a mistake, I said. He looked at me, brows furrowed. You don't anymore? I shook my head. No, I think we were inevitable. But inevitability doesn't make things easy. There are still people who judge us. Still friends who disappeared once they realized we were serious. Still moments when I wake up in the middle of the night, heart racing, wondering if we're still those scared, broken kids from before. And sometimes we are. But most days, we're something stronger. Something real.